All right, so Marajan is here and he is ready to go against Britain's very own KT. Marajan is a mystery man. We don't know where he's from. Don't even know if he's human. He may be a robot sent from the future to win all the Faeria tournaments in the land. But game number one about to start, dude. Let's see
I'm
what's going
ready.
to.
I'm ready. So we actually have one of the interesting matchups that we've been talking about throughout the course of the day. Killing time on this sack versus Marajan's green. Of course, the green from Marajan does run the Falcon Dives. We saw be very good in his match against Lasmus, and does run that the Verteran Force and the board that we just saw there as well. And actually getting two of the Falcon Dives in the opening hand. Do you think this is a start where you can just push aggressively right down the middle?
Potentially, yeah, because the Falcon Dives do kind of hold off Demon Wranglers, they hold off the Assassins. But I guess he's gonna wanna get those forests going now. He's picked up that Faeria Golem. Marajan's list is completely different to what we're used to seeing in most tournaments. Ancient Boar, I don't think we've seen Ancient Boar in competitive play since Life Coach used it. That's how long ago. And he was a different type of boar then. He's grown up since Life Coach's days. So it's interesting to see that card come back, but also, the inclusion of Verdant Forces, which got replaced by Kodama, but now we're starting to see green players use them again just for, I think, the mirror.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see all the adaptations that he's made, trying to make it as well rounded as possible. Having the forces in for the mirror, like you're saying, having the Falcon Dives to either deal with some of the creatures when there's a little bit of value left over from a buffed creature, or even just like an Oak Father has gotten a little bit higher than he can deal with, or for exactly like we saw earlier, and we probably will see this match of the taking out something small in the sacrifice, either denying the assassin value or denying just a sacrifice value from one of those early creatures.
Fortunately for KT, he doesn't have any assassins yet, which will meet their end at the hands of these Falcons. So he can kind of just chill out for a little bit. He's gonna actually just sack this for a 5-2 and gets his own Verdant Force. That's actually
Oh my
one of the
goodness.
best cards he can find. Like I would actually say Runin is probably one of the best he could get from a Balloon Sprite because of its reoccurring value. But Verdant Force, that's the kind of body you need to contest against these big green creatures.
Yeah, the Verdant Force, especially for only 3 Fairy, will be very difficult for Marajan to deal with once if he does just use the Verdant Force to kill the Demon Wing here. If we see the double Falcon Dive to kill off the Demon Wing, I would not be surprised by that at all, just to take over the left side here and make sure his Verdant Force survives.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that at all. Just clear it out. He doesn't do it though. I guess the second desert's quite dangerous because of the Wind Soldier and lose his only creature on board that's collect inferior for him. But fortunately for him, there is no Wind Soldiers coming out, so Vidrum Force will live to fight another day.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there for the way the lands had to be developed for Killing Time, that couldn't get the desert on the left and play a Deathwalker because he needed the desert for the Demon Wrangler to step off and grab that one extra Faria there. So Marajan possibly goes for the Falcon Dive again on this turn, but could just trade in because his Verdant Force is still in a safe enough of a position here.
We've actually seen Marajan be quite patient with his Falcon Dives in previous matches, so he does identify that the assassins are the priority targets. As for this turn, maybe he feeds. I don't think so. Maybe Elderwood, just to give it some more health. It needs to survive this Wood Elemental, unless he doesn't care, because the Farian Golem is going to come down next turn.
Yeah, very interesting that he goes for that into a position where it could trade with the Wood Elemental, and actually chooses not to go for the buff. Again, saving for the Therian Golem, either Therian Golem in to feed the forest and hopefully play 2 big threats on the following turn. But yeah, very interesting that he chooses to give up the Verteran Force there and basically give tempo to his opponent.
Yeah,
We
KT's doing pretty well of just holding the board down. He's got a collector, whereas Marajan's hand was kind of clunky. And now we're just going to see, a Death Walker to reinforce this. So anything that comes down for Marajan can be cleared by this Death Touch.
Yeah, I really like seeing that Deathwalker come down. You can choose which trade you want to take, whether you want the Deathwalker or the Verteran Force to kill off something big. It's a very good position here for Killing Time. Even giving up his Gatherer on the far right side, just pushing the advantage while he sees it here.
That's Soul Eater as well. They come down a bit later. We saw Soul Eater perform very well for KT in the build up to these grand finals. and it will become a massive threat if he keeps drawing those sacrificed creatures. Marajan here could just go for Firing Golem feed, and then he has an Oak Father, but this Deathwalker is such a huge problem for him right now.
Yeah, so we should see what is kind of the standard Huntmaster setup, which is to play a forest either in that position there or would have been off to the top right corner, to play the Oak Father there, hopefully get a good slam next turn if he's able to draw into the Huntmaster. That Feed the Forest is going to give him a couple extra draws next turn just because of the natural, the Feed the Forest, and then possibly a draw from the action wheel. Really looking for a good slam Huntmaster from this Oak Father. Sorry.
So now for KT, his best draw is going to be the Fanatic or the Huntmaster. Huntmaster does work out very nicely for him if he can find. He still needs a little.
There is a
more.
fantastic one. He can play any land he wants up in front of the Deathwalker, step the Verduran Force forward, Huntmaster on the forest the Verduran Force is currently on, and he'll be able to move the Deathwalker up that one space that he needs to attack the Oak Father. And that is exactly what he goes for.
Oh, misses a Faeria there. We've seen this kind of in the later stages of the tournament, some players missing a bit of Faeria along the way, but it's going to be a combination of nerves and fatigue. And that's one of the testaments of tournament players, being able to kind of outlast your own personal fatigue. It's tough. I've played many tournaments where I just feel so tired by the end of it. Like, I make mistakes.
Yeah, and there are times when we see some of these top players and you just watch every single movement they do be so clean. And some people may look at it and say, okay, it's one Faeria. What does that really do over the course of the game? Sometimes it's enough. Sometimes it's enough to make you make an inefficient play on a follow-up turn, or not have the Faeria to play like a Last Nightmare if KillingTime is running them to kill off whatever Marajan responds with here. Sometimes it ends up being just enough Faeria that you really need to be absolutely sure when you can grab one and when you have to give one.
Yeah, it does add up in the end. Just like I said, it could manipulate one of your plays based on being one Faeria less, and that could be the difference between winning and losing. And that's a big deal. KT right now doesn't really have much going on in his hand. He has all the lands he needs for Soul Eaters, so there is potential for him to just draw this turn. But it looks like he's going to maybe just go for a Soul Eater as a collector on the right-hand side. That wouldn't be too bad. It does double collect.
I wouldn't mind placing a land in the middle, either directly in the middle square or possibly one back a little further, because the Soul Eaters do have the charge 3. That forces the Verduran Force, or the Feral Kodama, sorry, to jump and kill the Verduran Force, or to jump in the middle and kill the Soul Eater. It really gives your opponent a lot of threats to deal with. So unfortunately, going for the draw there, we won't see the Soul Eater come down onto one of those left spaces, because then it's within slam range and Marajan can really start to get some value here. But I actually think that means we don't see either of them come down, because I really don't like putting a Soul Eater in a position where it can't immediately either contest a creature or hit your opponent in the orb.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I've heard some players say, just drop a Soul Eater as a 5/5 and double collects for you. That Faeria will work out. But I guess with the current position of Kodama, it's not very safe for double collection. Doomgate in this position is kind of awkward, in the sense that you won't be able to get the slam face hit without mobility. But on the other hand, it still gives you quite a good access to the board for defensive Ostrogoth. And I think Ostrogoth can be used defensively in this matchup specifically because it's just no hard removal, and it kind of works out.
Yeah, you have multiple win conditions through your Soul Eaters, but if you're able to provide another big threat in the Ostrogoth, it's just something else that Green's not going to be able to deal with. I'd really like to see the Wood Elemental come out to taunt the Deathwalker right now from Marajan, just because he has the Falcon Dive to clean that up. This Feral Kodama in a spot where it could snowball the game right now.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Falcon Dive can actually be used. It's been kind of stuck in Marajan's hand for some time, just because no assassins have showed up yet. And we see some land development going towards the Doomgate. So Marajan kind of identifying that he may want to kill this Doomgate sooner rather than later, before KT starts getting some card draw from it and potentially the Ostrogoth in the future. And there we go. So straight away 2 draws off a sack here with the Doomgate.
Yeah, Village Elder is actually a great one to pick up for the Doomgate. Obviously, mentioned it earlier in the day that an annoying Gnat is a really good one just because it's a consistent card on the board. But now picking up the Elderwood Hermit and the Bloom Sprite, again, two great sacrifice creatures, but not any sacrifice options in hand right now. Possibly just see a Soul Eater come down on that most aggressive forest and force your opponent to kill it with the Feral Kodama, and actually plays it in a more defensive spot. Interesting.
Yeah, maybe that was a misplay from KT. He did say it was a mistake straight away, so
Well, if Marajan draws into a Huntmaster, it is 100% a misplay because it'll be able to slam the Doomgate and kill off the Soul Eater. Again, if the Soul Eater is in a position, I'm not sure exactly what its attack in life is, but possible mistake there.
and Runin now off the top for Marajan, so he has a reoccurring threat against all this death touch and all this removal. So the quicker he can get Runin out, the better it's going to be. In a longer game, it's not going to have much relevance because of Soul Eaters. So that's something you can consider in the future. Ancient Beastmaster, was that organic? Did he draw that naturally?
That is in his deck. Very interesting to see the Beastmaster. And again, it hits almost anything. The 1/1 can be something that you need to win the game if you don't have another way to generate a buff. Sometimes that 1/1 separates you from your Verdant Force or Kodama surviving against your opponents in that same spot.
Falcon Dive on the 6/1. Easy clear. Beastmaster now could develop in a more defensive position to get that value. The Doomgate is still active and it's not under threat just yet. And of course, the Soul Eater is kind of covering it. I know you did say he would get punished by the Huntmaster, but fortunately for KT, that's not the case here.
Yeah, Elderwood Hermit and Bloom Sprite, both very good targets just to drop one of them and use the Doomgate towards it here. We're going to see the Bloom Sprite. See what KillingTime gets off of this.
Ooh, another Vision Force!
Unbelievable there.
Pretty brutal for Marajan to deal with another 7/7. He could just drop the Verdant Force next to Kodama and give him two problems to worry about, but he's gone for the other Soul Eater here and just pushing out all this power. And with the Doomgate going to be active next turn, summon Ostrogoth. So Marajan has a lot of problems on board right now.
Has to kill off this Soul Eater, but no other buffs in hand. Not exactly sure if the Soul Eater is a little bit bigger than that 9/9, but I would expect it to be. Feed the Forest actually a pretty good draw here because of the Living Willows in hand for Marajan right now, giving him a lot more options depending on what he draws into.
The Willow feed. All right, so this is the acceleration, just trying to find something to help him.
Wood Elemental is not going to be able to do that.
Might be worth getting Runin down now just to try and get its value. But there's also the consideration of taunting up a Soul Eater just to slow KT down at this point.
Marajan does have taunts in hand, so he can kind of stop the aggression a little bit, but he doesn't kill off any of these Soul Eaters in any efficient way right now. Again, playing around Slam in beautiful fashion by KillingTime there, and Ostrogoth going to pop next turn just because KillingTime has the Hermit or even the Demon Wrangler in hand to sacrifice for it. Marajan has no way to contest it right now. The Soul Eaters are difficult enough. Ostrogoth is going to be almost impossible for a green deck to deal with.
And yeah, just to concede there, we don't even get to see Ostrogoth, which is a shame. But KT takes game number 1 with the green-yellow sack, with too much pressure with the Soul Eaters and the Doomgate.
Yeah, and I believe Marajan, 2-0 against Lastmas, so we actually didn't see another deck from him at all, so everything will be a surprise, not only to KillingTime, but to us as well, as we spectate the other decks that Marajan is bringing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery now. His green is quite an interesting build, using cards that we don't often see in conventional mid-range green. I'm very curious to see what other decks he's bringing, but also some of his, deck building decisions. And it's Red Rush, so nothing too exciting, but, maybe he'll surprise us. Maybe it'll be a Krog.
We will have to see if he's kind of got his own adaptation into it, but Red Rush can be very good if it gets off to the right start. And with that Fire Elemental and Axe Grinder in hand, it looks like Marjan should be off to the right start. We do see the Doomgate. Again, if you can get this Doomgate down incredibly early like you can now and start snowballing, it's very difficult to stop your opponent from getting Ostrogoth early into the game and just taking it way quicker than you're able to set up.
Katie does have the wombo combo, Village Elder, Explore, Demon Wrangler if he chooses. Doesn't go for it. I guess he's not afraid of any mountains right now. I'm going to get some Faeria with the Elder first. If he did go for that combination, the Demon Wrangler can collect the next turn, and then the Demon Wing can follow up with a collection. So we could have gained additional Faeria there, but just holding on for now, perhaps wanting to get this Doomgate down first.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which he prioritizes. And again, moving the Elder away from anything that Marjan's playing, you could already see the way that Marjan had committed his land. So kind of two different thoughts there. You could either use the Demon Wrangler and use the Village Elder, the Demon Wing coming down as a 5/2 to contest whatever your opponent was playing, or you can use the Demon Wing in the way that KillingTime is going to move off and double collect and try to accelerate your Faeria that way. So that's the play that he's going for, giving up a lot of pressure here because this Fire Elemental Axe Grinder is going to be very difficult for KillingTime to take care of over the upcoming turns.
Neutral land placement also allowed KillingTime to get a safe Doomgate off. His next sack is going to put him out of range of Flame Burst. Now, like you said, there's already tremendous amounts of pressure coming from Marjan, so I'm not sure if Katie will have time to keep sacking for it, but it's definitely something to watch for in this match. Mountain Fire Elemental Axe Grinder just seems like the line here. I don't see anything as good as that.
Yeah, and the Fire Elemental would be in a position where the Demon Wrangler could kill it off. Your creatures do block the Demon Wrangler from collecting, and if that is the situation where Fire Elemental does die to the Demon Wrangler, it's not used as a sacrifice target. So I actually don't mind that play at all. But here we do see the Axe Rider go for. Marjan did hover over the Flamer, so I'm wondering if he didn't consider that he wasn't going to be able to get to two mountains there, but I definitely would have liked to see the Fire Elemental come down with the Axe Grinder here.
Yeah, maybe he was considering Fire Elemental Flame Burst and then dropped the Axe Grinder and went, oops, wrong one. It happens to everyone.
So we'll have to see what KillingTime draws into here as his response. Oh, Soul Eater is not what you want to see at this point in the game.
You can Forest Collect, sack the 2/1 for the Deathwalker, or if he's gonna, it depends what his game plan is. He could go all in on Doomgate, but Doomgate's probably not gonna live now, especially if Flame Burst comes on it. But then again, Marjan might feel that Flame Burst has bigger fish to fry than this 1 health Doomgate.
It was a bit of an odd movement with the Demon Wing there, moving into the middle where it's not going to collect and it's possibly one space away from contesting any of your opponent's creatures as well.
I kind of like putting in double collection. As much as a 5/2 body is useful in this matchup, it wasn't in a great position to defend anyway. And by the time you get there, he might just Cypher's Wrath it, and then you lost Faeria in the process. So I think if you're going to use Demon Wing as a defender, you need to sack him into a defensive position rather than a collecting position.
Second mountain comes down here from Marjan. I think with the Fire Elemental in hand, he could have even gone for just extra card draw there. But it just ends up so awkward the way that he didn't Fire Elemental last turn, because now KillingTime was able to get this forest in. Lands could have been so much cleaner here.
I think he's considering Shedding Pest into Flame Burst. Yeah, so he's just going to clear up the Wrangler.
Yeah, a very nice play there. Completely removing every creature that your opponent has on board, not only taking away from him contesting, him collecting Faeria, getting towards that Doomgate, just so many options. Even getting that Shaitan Assassin, using the Demon Wing as the sacrifice there would have been fantastic for KillingTime.
Oh, Bone Collector sack and get the Assassin out. That's going to really help, especially after seeing that Flame Burst. This Doomgate might not live, but I don't think KillingTime really cares about it anymore. It's kind of just a distraction.
It was a hopeful play when you get it down early. Unfortunately, some games you get the Doomgate and not anything to sacrifice. So that's been the way that it's played out here. And Yeah, this Shaitan Assassin, we talked about how good it is in some of the bigger matchups into like green, but even just in this red, it's actually able to get a lot of value unless your opponent's able to use an event to clean it up in the end.
Yeah, I like Assassin a lot. It's just such a good card for answering aggression or just big creatures, and he's going to get a 2-for-1 in this situation unless Marajan finds that removal. Marajan now has a decision: does he push the orb damage or does he clear this Doom Gate?
Not drawing into anything else. I think he's definitely looking for the either the free hate seeds or the really big fire bringers at this point. Really trying to push the advantage that he has at this point in the game. But everything that he has in hand can come down. But it's over the course of turns right now. Outland Ranger been sitting back at that other well in his defensive position for quite a while now. So it's interesting to see he hasn't pushed that up. But I think unless you draw a Horsemaster and it can make an immediate impact, it probably stays where it is. And just as I mentioned it, he moves it up, of course.
For KT, the Doomgate ended up being a 2 Faeria block 6 damage. That's not too bad, ultimately. And oh, another Bone Collector. So he can actually Deathwalker now, but the problem with Deathwalker is it dies instantly to the Fire Elemental. You're going to want Deathwalker to maybe try and do a bit more, but it's hard against Red because a lot of their creatures have 4 or more attack. So perhaps you might consider just playing the Bone Collector, killing the pest and trying to maybe grow it out a little bit.
Yeah, Bone Collector, if it starts rolling, can be really difficult for the red to deal with, just because once it's able to kill off, if it's able to get to the point where it kills off a fire elemental, you really need the event. The same way as a Shaitan Assassin, you need an event to finish it off. Otherwise, it just gets an immense amount of value. Deathwalker, like you said, just trades so easily for the red player in this situation. So Bone Collector is going to come down, grab that 1/1. Unfortunately, isn't in a position to grab the extra damage. Wow, I'm very surprised by that.
So I think Katie's logic behind that is the assassin without the shield is going to die to Cypher's Wrath. As a 6/4, it's going to be much harder to deal with that problem. Bombslinger, and there's a Cypher's Wrath, but
There is the
Bombslinger now
wrath.
picked up to clear out the Deathwalker, but it does buff the Bone Collector. So it does make things a little more awkward for Marajan here.
I think I would rather see it kill off the Bone Collector because the 4/1 body still contests the Deathwalker. Whereas if you kill off the Deathwalker, the 3/5 Bone Collector continues to survive after killing off the Bombslinger. Although the 4/1 is a little weaker to something like a Wind Soldier, I think killing off the Bone Collector is actually possibly a little better just because of the way that everything plays out.
I
Of course,
agree.
killing off the Deathwalker here does set you up that the Cypher's Wrath finishes off the Bone Collector, but I think doing it the other way around may have been a little better.
I agree with you. I think killing the Bone Collector was correct there because it's so easy for you to kill a Deathwalker. And what do you care about the Death Touch as a Red Rush player? You're just constantly pushing out those aggressive threats. If they take care of the Deathwalker, then so be it. But Bone Collector can actually really get out of hand. Cypher's Wrath is going to kill it, and that's unfortunate for KT.
Yeah, now move the creatures up into the right position. Fire Elemental is going to be able to push some orb damage here. Outland Ranger moving on to the forest as well. Now getting that hate seed should be free by now, I believe, but it might be close where Marajan needs like the +1 fairy and the axe grinder to get the hate seed to a free discounted cost right now.
I like the campfire on the Fire Elemental as well. Just keep pushing that extra damage. But he doesn't go for it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mind just playing either the axe grinder, like the +1 fairy for the axe grinder, or just playing the hate seed in this situation, because the campfire onto the fire elemental, it still dies to something like a wind soldier, and you've
Oh,
already
that's
seen one of them, so I don't necessarily mind keeping that in order to play another creature. And the hate seed is free now, so this is a massive board for KillingTime to deal with.
This is probably going to be a surrender come from KillingTime unless he top decks Doomsday, which we don't even think is in the deck.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be in the deck here. Soul Eater, very hopeful coming down there, but the campfire in hand does represent lethal, as well as the other Outland Ranger picked up. But so Marajan will take the game here.
Yep, Red Rush doing work once more. We already seen I Win Again be dominant with his deck in the third place match. Katie will probably be hoping it won't be a repeat showing of the Red Rush performance, or it's going to spell the end of his tournament life pretty quickly. But yeah, good lethal there from Marajan. Too much pressure for Katie to deal with, and Green Yellow Sack goes down, one apiece.
So we'll have to see what KillingTime responds with here. We did see him run a red of his own, I believe it was, in his semifinal against I Win Again. And then there's, of course, the unknown factor of what his other deck is. If it's a green or a blue or possibly even just a mono yellow, since the sacrifice doesn't need too many of the tools of that.
I would expect a mid-range green from KT. He's played it so much as a recent, but it looks like he's just going to go for the mirror, and he picks up the Axe Grinder. Cypher's Wrath is a keep here. I guess it's just to deal with the Outland Rangers. But most Red Rush players will pre-buff their Outland Rangers if they can.
Especially once you realize that you're playing in the mirror.
Yes, yes. So maybe KT's trying to catch him off guard, but it very much depends on if Marajan goes first, which he doesn't. Which he does, sorry. So actually, he won't have time to Cyphers it. I don't think Cyphers is a good keep here. I think you throw the Cyphers and just keep the Axe Grinder.
Yeah, I'd probably rather draw into that in more of the later game. Again, like you're saying, does target the Outland Ranger very well. It does target the Horsemaster pretty well, just depending on the way that your opponents played it. But yeah, as soon as the first mountain comes down, Marajan will have a turn to react and play the campfire to play around Cypher's Wrath. So both players building towards each other here.
Yeah, both players going for the mid-range strategy. Maybe they don't want to play the race because then it all comes down. Like, I mean, the racing can honestly come down to who has the better start. But in this position, when you go down the mid-range line, it comes down to positioning. You know, what you decide to clear. So there's a lot more tactical elements in playing a game out like this.
Yeah, I think both lines, whether you go for the race or whether you go for constantly contesting whatever your opponent plays down the same side, are both very dependent on draws as well if you get an answer. And very interesting that Marajan doesn't go for the campfire there. Looked like he was just trying to wait out and set up the Horsemaster to kill off the Axe Grinder, but great clear there from KillingTime.
So KT is rewarded for keeping hold of the Cypher's Wrath. I was 100% expecting the campfire there to play around the Cypher's Wrath, but this gave KT an opportunity to play the Shedding Pest as well, using all his Faeria and taking the board. And Marajan doesn't even have his first mountain down yet. So it's looking, he does have the good mountain spot though for the Axe Grinder, but
yeah, and you know, maybe just like you were saying, you would have tossed the Cypher's Wrath. Maybe Marajan was expecting that KillingTime would have cycled that card as well, so wasn't expecting it to be in the starting hand, and that's why he tried to play a little greedier there. But not even having a great creature to play at this point. Horsemaster you usually want to use for its effect, not just as the body to hope it survives as a collector.
Will he campfire this time to play around the Cypher's Wrath? It's his only creature on board. No campfire. So KillingTime can now decide if he wants to Flame Burst this creature and just deny him any board at all. And he's going to go for it, and I don't blame him here.
Yeah, very good read there by KillingTime. As soon as you see that Horsemaster come down, you know kind of how desperate of a play it is to hope that some creature survives onto the board. So definitely like using that Flame Burst to continue to control the board here from KillingTime.
So Hateseed probably going to come down. Could Flame Burst? Can you play Hateseed with a Flame Burst? Yes. So that's not bad. I know he gets someone down to contest the Shedding Pest, at least.
Just unfortunate positioning right now where you play a Hateseed for 4 instead of eventually drawing into them and getting them for free.
Yeah, that's the power of Hateseed, being able to play them for 0 as tempo. So you play like you're on free Faeria, you play an Axe Grinder, and you slam a Hateseed along with it. And usually in those situations, your opponent is going to be behind, but not the case here. And we see KT, you know, pushing those neutral lands and trying to get that aggressive spot. And we're going to see a clear because he can set up the Fire Elemental, pushing towards the top right well, setting up another Collector. And if Marajan goes for the clear with a Cypher's Raft, he's not going to be doing much else.
Yeah, really nice land placement here by KillingTime as well to build his prairies directly across the front of all of Marajan's lands, and then get that deep mountain and setting himself up for a really good axe grinder spot. This is something that we see some of these red players when the opponent contests whatever they're doing. We see this sometimes be a real defining factor when they're able to take the games of being able to push those lands up across onto the opposite side.
We see neutrals to block it off, but I feel like the damage has been done with these lands. That mountain there is going to be KT's aggressive avenue for clear, kind of finishing the game here. KT's now in a spot where you can just draw cards, get the Outland Ranger in a double collection spot, and then force Marajan once again to respond. And if he does want to Cypher's Draft this, he can maybe squeeze in an Axe Grinder, but not much else.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting right now is because Marajan has had no creature to play throughout the course of the game so far stick to the board. Every creature that he draws into right now is really what he wants. Every time he draws an Outland Ranger, Axe Grinder, those are really the cards that you want to get down immediately. So not necessarily bad, but he needs something else to swing the board before he's really able to put some pressure on.
He needs to be able to play a creature and remove a threat at the same time. And going for Faeria there for Marajan, that might be given the resources he needs to make that play. But now KT can Flame Burst this if he chooses, double collect, and then draw potentially, or maybe just +1 and wait till next turn.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what you draw here because there's very few creatures that you're going to get. And yeah, Fire Elemental you can't play anyway. So the draw does just give you more options for next turn instead of drawing next turn looking for a different option. So I don't think it truly mattered whether he took the extra Faeria or went for the draw, but does get the Fire Elemental, which means he could, push a land in behind the two open spots that Marajan has there right beside his orb again here.
And this is a moment where Marajan is starting to get some board presence. He's developed the Axe Grinder. He's got the Outland Ranger down, so he's now got more board than KT, and KT now needs to react to this in order to stabilize. And the way he's positioned these as well is if KT wants to collect, he gives up a clear. Bombslinger's pretty nice. But yeah, he gives up that clear. So he could actually just mountain next to the Axe Grinder, bomb slinger it, and then clear the 3/2. And we're kind of back in this kind of stalemate that we've been in for a little while.
4, 5. Oh, okay. There was a play there where you move your Outland Ranger down to collect +1 Fire Elemental to get the mountain in the right spot, and then Bomb Slinger. I think he was able to get to that, but that does leave the Outland Ranger alive for your opponent. So KillingTime just continue to deny every single creature that Marajan plays. So continuing to stick to his game plan here.
I mean, I think Marajan could have went +1 there and maybe just hate seed campfire, and just keep something in the double collection spot. Because that would have been tough to deal with.
He's in a Yeah, like he's in a spot where just everything that he's played so far has been kind of in desperation, and that would have been like the epitome of a desperation play, throwing all of those campfires onto something, just hoping that it survives. But if you don't, if this hate seed doesn't survive over here, if it gets cleared by another bomb slinger, or even just if it gets contested by this King's Faithful in hand for KillingTime, you don't allow it to get you back into the game anyway. So maybe the campfires was the way to ensure it there.
But now KT just completely ignores it. You can have your double collector. I'm just going to flood the board with this hate seed, with this shedding pest, and you have to react to me while I'm trying to push damage. There is a ground shaker, so at least the bomb slinger can be answered and, develop a strong enough body to at least contest the shedding pest. But now KT can kind of go into the aggro mode, push some damage. He has used 2 flame bursts, so he needs to still balance board clearing with pushing damage at this point.
Yeah, there's a couple options there. It could go for the ground shaker, which is the play that Marjan chooses, or it could have put a mountain in behind his well in the top right corner there and played the bomb slinger to kill off the Shedem Pest. But I think that bomb slinger, just because of the potential of like a Cypher's Wrath for killing time, would have just absolutely been game over there. So ground shaker with the campfire, just hoping that it survives to fight into some of these creatures, is possibly the way that Marjan is able to snowball and clear all of the aggression for this upcoming turn.
Although the +1 King's Faithful into Hate Seed into the well played, knowing that Marajan will not have the cards or the Faeria to deal with everything on board right now. I mean, he could clear the Hate Seed and block, but then the Shedding Pest on the side is going to be enough. He could collect Mountain Bomb Slinger and clear something, but then another creature can angle around and finish him off. So this is not going to be enough for Marajan to hold on, and it looks like KT's going to take it.
Yeah, very strong play there. Just throughout the course of the game, he really stuck to killing everything as soon as Marajan played it, and it panned out in the end. He was able to get his lands into that aggressive spot and really set up for that turn one commit, just all in with his creatures.
And he identified that. He saw right now, I've reacted, I've reacted, I've reacted. He plays the Hate Seed. I can't clear this anymore, but I now have the land positioning to just throw pressure at his orb, and it was too much. That follow up with the King's Faithful and the other Hate Seed was kind of the nail in the coffin there, and I thought it was fantastic that KT actually identified that aggressive line, because we've talked about this before, that the next level to being from a good Faeria player to a great Faeria player is identifying those small windows of opportunity that can win the game for you quicker and not
Yeah,
drag it out any further.
and Killing Time perfectly showed that when he committed all his forces forward. And sometimes it is just showing, that you are able to put a game plan into effect and stick to it through the course of the game. Where sometimes you could have gone, like sometimes in that game, Killing Time could have gone more aggressive, or left something of Marajan's up to possibly get a different play, a different line. But he really stuck to the game plan right from the start. So very, very expertly executed there.
So now Marajan's down to his final deck, the mystery deck number 2. I'm curious to see what he brings. I have a feeling it's going to be blue, but we'll have to see.
We'll have to see here. We actually
Yellow
see
Rush?
yellow coming out. Yeah, with the prayer, definitely leans more towards the rush variant. And we will have to see how this plays out. We did see yellow rush against the red rush, and it was really an early King's Faithful that set the tone of the game. So we'll have to see if Marajan's able to pick up some of those early tools to deal with everything that the red rush is going to play here.
Double neutrals is going to give an indication of what KillingTime is playing against. If KillingTime had gone second and he saw double neutrals come down, he may have adjusted his game plan to more of a red rush style. But because he went first and he has no idea what Marajan's playing, he went for the safer line of going for neutrals to the side and playing the mid-range game plan. But we actually see him already trying to set up a diamond here to slow down Marajan.
Yeah, interesting that he chose for that instead of the double neutrals up the side, get towards his mountain and just race. But we will see the first desert, but nothing else played for Marajan here. Possibly Killing Time will be feeling a little lucky that he's not facing a Doomdrake right away.
And he now identifies that his opponent is a yellow player, and he can correctly campfire his Outland Ranger, the player on Soldering. I'm pretty. He is high. Oh, he's going to let it fly. Okay, I would have definitely considered a campfire, even if your opponent wind soldiers it. That's just one out, isn't it? He needs that one piece of removal, whereas campfire eliminates the Soldering option.
I really like the mountain where he played the King's Faithful. On top of playing the King's Faithful to contest anything that your opponent plays, a mountain in that spot, even if you choose to go mountains in other spots, like more aggressively as your follow-up, that mountain represents a really good spot for the bomb slinger at any point through the game. So really like Killing Time getting it down into that spot as early as possible here. And we do see the Soul Drain, like you were talking about, onto the Outland Range.
This is strange because in the third place match, we had Yellow Rush defending against Red Rush, but now we have Red Rush defending against Yellow Rush. So what influenced this decision?
I think that's really down to that Killing Time went for that more defensive start, going towards the well instead of going straight towards his opponent. In that game that you're referring to, the King's Faithful was in the opening hand, so it was just prairies right down the middle. I'm going to play the King's Faithful in as aggressive spot as possible, and it really panned out in that way. But at the same time, the way that Killing Time is set up currently looks very strong for him.
He's blocking his most aggressive desert, which is making it harder for him to collect at this point. If he double neutrals onto the left side of his orb, that is no immediate haste deserts. He's going to have mobility if he wants to, say, push a monk or a follower to activate those prayers. We do see the flash wind in his hand, but that's a flash wind you're spending just to get a face hit. He wants to be using them to outmaneuver his opponent. So far, like you said, KT's set up very nicely.
Yeah, the one unfortunate part of it is that Killing Time has gone for the prairies in order to completely block things off. If he had gone for even just one extra mountain, this Bomb Slinger would be fantastic to kill off the Shaitan Demon instead of trading the Shed and Pest into it. But probably still just see them trade possibly Cypher's Wrath kills off the Kalim's follower just to continue to remove everything from your opponent.
So now I decided to go for the mountain. This is a little more dangerous because you do give your opponent an opportunity to set up an aggressive desert this way. Are we going to see double campfire? I think it's worth it. Just keep it on 1 health. Oh, he's blocking the desert. Very nice there from KT. Collect, campfire, boom. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, very nice there. You saw your opponent use a Soul Drain, although Marjan does pick one up off the top here. You saw your opponent use a Soul Drain from their opening hand already. Very difficult for a yellow Rush player to deal just 1 damage to something like a Shed and Pest. And yeah, like blocking with the Outland Ranger there, although the Flash Wind is in hand, very good for Killing Time to stop that one spot that was going to be the most aggressive desert. Has done an absolutely beautiful job of defending here.
And the problem Marajan has now is he doesn't want to Soul Drain the 3-2. There's an 8-1 on the side. He's going to use a follower here to collect and maybe squeeze in that hit. And this gives Killing Time basically the opportunity now to develop the last neutral to completely wall off against the Yellow Rush and start pushing the neutrals up towards his opponent. Oh, and there's a Fire Elemental to go with it as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Flash Wind obviously was a possibility there with the follower to get that hit to the orb in, but I think without a prayer in hand, you don't really want to go for that play. So yeah, it will be really nice with the Fire Elemental here to get that developed. We'll see if that's a good, very nice there in the position to block. Fire Elemental with that 2 life, very weak to something like a Soul Drain, but already seen 2 of them from Marajan, so yeah, Killing Time will be feeling very good about the way this played out.
We might see Monk come down on the left-hand side desert, flash wind down, and then hit the orb to get the card draw. He could have potentially used the monks to clear the fire elemental, but not really worthwhile unless you have a prayer to back it up. I don't really like this because it's not as proactive as you want it to be. I mean, you're protecting your follower, but your follower's already so vulnerable to a lot of red's options.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like that with the follower, especially without the prayer in hand. This is another spot where you could go follower flash wind to push some more damage, but that follower still ends up in the same spot of being within range to die to the Outland Ranger here. So as much as Marajan is able to push a little bit of damage and start setting up for possibly a big Crusader on a following turn, this does give Killing Time the opportunity to kill it off in pretty efficient way.
Oh, so close yet so far. And we're
Yeah,
just gonna
unfortunate there. Ground Shaker, the perfect response, but not enough Faeria.
So this is a bit of a problem for KT. He didn't have an answer immediately to these followers. He is going to clear them out next turn with the Ground Shaker, but this might just give Marajan enough damage to set up a very deadly Zealous Crusader, which is going to give KT quite a few problems, regardless of this great defensive land placement.
Yeah, I really like moving the follower there to collect. Then you can get Oradra Monk, Flashwind it to be the attack to the orb, and then get a 8/8 Crusader down this turn as well in just an absolutely threatening position.
He may decide to clear the Ranger. No, he's going to go for. I like the face hit. He could have considered clearing the Ranger, but you just want this Crusader to be as big as possible, and might even go for the June Drake this turn. I wouldn't mind that. Just make sure the Ranger is completely. Sorry, the Crusader is completely out of range of Red's removal.
Crusader's still very difficult to deal with for the Ranger. If the Campfire from the Ranger hadn't been played, then it's a little more awkward just because Campfire and Bomb Slinger can kill off the Crusader, but especially putting it in this position when the Ranger is probably going to kill off the Monk, it I think looks like a better play to play the Crusader, but this Ground Shaker now ends up being very good for killing time.
And then KT can move over to Collection. He could +1 into Axe Grinder if he likes.
I like saving the Faeria for next turn for the Bomb Slinger, but I guess Axe Grinder does accomplish the same thing to kill off the Crusader.
Oh, another Crusader at 8/8. That's quite a good draw for Marajan. He can just slam down another 8/8 that KillingTime has to deal with. But he could go for the June Drake instead, but the June Drake's very vulnerable to that Axe Grinder. Like I said, that Bomb Sling would line up perfectly against it.
Does kill off the Ground Shaker. I was going to say it'll be interesting to see which line Marajan goes for, killing off the Ground Shaker or killing off the Axe Grinder, because Ground Shaker now puts Crusader in a spot where Cypher's Wrath kills it, but the Axe Grinder put it in a spot where the Bomb Slinger killed it. So it was, which do you want to play around more? Both of these will be cleared if Marajan goes for the Dune Drake, so I would have liked to see the other Crusader just come down.
I mean, the other Crusader has a lot more durability. It can be cleared out by a Bomb Slinger and an Axe Grinder in the future, but it's more of an immediate threat. Bomb Slinger just comes down now, clear out the 8/2, Axe Grinder collects, and then he just hits the June Drake.
Unfortunately misses one Faeria there just because of, and realized it right away. Could have done it in the opposite order.
Could even push out a Hate Seed as well. So now if Crusader does come down without removal to back it up, it's going to be a bit of a problem. Might have to just Wind Soldier the Bomb Slinger preemptively, so the Crusader can come down safely next turn.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Marajan in those turns that he had the orb pressure, that he didn't have any of his Kalim's Prayer in hand, because that really could have been the difference between this Crusader coming down in a spot where KillingTime wasn't able to respond to both of them at the same time.
+1 Vampire is not even a line. It just gets cleared out. He's just going to wait. I guess he wants the instant clear, and then he'll play the Crusader where it feels a bit more safe.
I had already gone for the draw in order to get to the Vampire, so wasn't able to +1 for it.
Oh, right, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't mind just waiting for Wind Soldier as a clear and then a Crusader in one turn here.
Going for the aggressive line here with the Horsemaster, and then he can set up an Axe Grinder in the well spot, get as a 5/4. Going to be a bit of a problem here for Marajan. He does have that Crusader, but right now those two creatures can contest it, so he may want to play it next to the Horsemaster as an alternative.
Yeah, I probably would like to see the Crusader come down on that side if that's the play that he chooses to go for, just because it is in the more protected position. Of course, the Hate Seed is still within range, and then possibly Mountain Bomb Slinger, but that means that your opponent either has it in their hand or they top deck into it. So it doesn't allow them to draw an extra card looking for an answer. Of course, something like an Outland Ranger could represent the one extra damage. Oh no, sorry, the Horsemaster will be dead thanks to the Wind Soldier. So yeah, that won't even be an option either.
So yeah, definitely Wind Soldier, the 3/2, play the Crusader down. The problem Marajan has now, he needs to continue applying pressure to distract KT.
That's the wrong spot.
Oh, he missed the collection.
Yeah, Wind Soldier could have come down on the opposite desert and charged straight across and collected the one well. KillingTime realized it there as well. So both players again missing that one Faeria. Choosing to go for the Vampire here, actually. Unfortunately, Marajan, in the end, had to use the +1 off the action wheel to get to that Vampire as well. So that's the type of situations that we talk about when sometimes you think, well, maybe that one Faeria doesn't matter too much. But in that situation, that +1 Faeria maybe is a card draw instead, and that's a card that you need eventually to win the game or to snowball in terms of like a prayer or something even more. So could be a defining play there.
And now we have KT pushing out an axe grinder and another HC to come down to defend. So this vampire shouldn't stick around. Much harder to clear 4 health for a yellow rush player. He needs something like Wind Soldier Soul Drain, but doesn't currently have the Faeria for that. So right now things are looking like it's going to go KT's way and he's going to take this game.
Yeah, this definitely looks like a good spot for him to be in. Vampire can step down and kill the one hate seed, and then even just +1 Crusader, still being an 8/8, is difficult for the rest of Killing Time's forces to deal with, because you have to kill off the 6/2 Vampire and the 8/8 Crusader, but threatening 8 damage on the upcoming turn with neither of them being in a position where Marjan can clear it, looks like Killing Time is still ahead in the race.
Vampire can clear one of these guys out, but what does it really mean? I guess you just +1 into Crusader on the desert above it, and then force the HC to go into the 6/2. But at this point, you don't really care about 8 damage. KT can kind of just ignore it because he has the aggression. So this Crusader might actually have to defend, depending on what the next few draws are.
Yeah, it's interesting to say it that way because an 8/8 Crusader sometimes would be absolutely need to be answered. But the vampire actually represents so much more, not in terms of direct damage to your orb, but healing your opponent out of the race. So just being able to get that Cypher's Wrath to kill it off there, as well as the Fire Elemental to completely block off the Crusader, definitely going to be game 2 killing time here.
You could go for the draw, pick up a Soul Drain to clear out the Outland Ranger. You can't even win Soldier, I don't believe, just because of the desert positioning. And like you said, this is looking like it's going to be game to Killing Time, and he's going to take his first tournament and be the MGtv Championship champion. The first one you guys ever had.
Yeah, unbelievable games there. Fantastic play defending against the yellow rush there with his red control, on top of a beautiful display in the previous game of the red versus red, just denying every single thing Marajon was able to play onto the board, and takes a very nice win there, 3-1 to become the champion.
KT